guys, welcome back to the video, and today we are reacting to film theory. Thanos was wrong, he can't snap Avengers Infinity War by the film theory. So I really don't know what to expect. So in 3, 2, 1, let's react. Let's go guys, I'm back and running. It's gonna be a weekly channel now, it's not gonna be a daily channel now. So I just lost 3 subs in 1 week. Yeah, that's how bad I am at YouTube. That's how my channel's gonna die, because my subscribers are gone.
Thanos, buddy, I love you, but after all these movies and all that effort to get those Infinity Stones, your big triumphant moment where you vaporize half the universe finally comes around and you choose to snap? Snap. I mean, come on, we're not all Picasso here, but it's just uninspired. Think of all the other things you could have done. The Thanos clap, the Thanos punch this guy, the Thanos dab, a little dated, but
Thanos
still relevant to the youngsters, the Thanos shadow puppet, the Thanos American Sign Language. It would be great for building awareness of other forms of communication. No? None of those? Well, that's just uncalled for. No one asked for the Thanos middle finger salute. Well, now you're just
middle finger salute.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, the show that makes being a know-it-all about all your favorite franchises a snap. Now that we've all had time to sit back and reflect on the glory that was Avengers Infinity War, I wanted to bring up something that's been bugging me about it.
Yeah, Avengers Infinity War was really good. Marvel and Disney did a really good job.
Don't get me wrong, I love this movie. It was basically the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I love that movie too. It was so good. Marvel and Disney had it. It was so good. And I'm still waiting for part 2, because I don't know what happens in part 2.
Universe meets Survivor All-Stars. I mean, I'm sitting there in the theater seeing how many of my favorite Marvel characters are in this thing, and I can't tell where my own gleeful drool ends and the fake butter flavoring on my popcorn begins. Yet, in spite of all of that, there's one part of this movie that I found just a bit too implausible to let go. And when I think back about it, I actually let a lot of things go for this movie. I mean, Heimdall can see everything but Mrs. Thanos' shit. Sure, we all make mistakes. Thor can just jam somebody else's eye into his socket and see again. Whatever, I guess he's a god. The mortal rules don't apply to him. Doctor Strange has literally the whole movie to use his time stones and just doesn't, even though he should see Thanos' plans for galactic genocide coming a mile away. And he has portals that are able to rip people in half, or at the very least capture them, which should make pulling off the gauntlet very easy. You know, I don't have an explanation for that. It's movie magic, okay?
Easy.
And Doctor Strange is my favorite Marvel superhero, so he basically gets a free pass all around. No, the problem I had with this movie was not these things, it was this scene. Did you catch it? It was over in a snap, literally. Thanos snaps his fingers and wipes out half the universe for the sake of resource conservation, like some sort of over-enthusiastic Al Gore. But there's a problem here.
It's a snap
itself, the actual act of clicking his fingers like a hulky Dorothy trying to click her heels to get back to Kansas. I mean, come on, he's wearing a giant gauntlet made of Uru, a metal. He can't just snap his fingers while he's wearing that, right? Think about every movie you've ever seen where people are wearing metal armor. Every Game of Thrones episode. Heck, every British period piece where they wear those dainty tea gloves. Nobody is snapping in those things. I mean, I can't even unlock my cell phone when there's a little French fry grease on my fingers, so snapping in a gauntlet is near impossible. And not by the rules
probably
of some
impossible,
comic book universe, but by the basic laws.
A gauntlet, there's metal surrounding your hand, and when you snap, you can't actually snap because your fingers are not touching. Yeah, because your fingers are not touching the skin. It's not touching your skin. It's only touching the metal. The metal's touching the metal, not the fingers touching the finger. There needs to be a finger touching the finger, not metal touching the metal. So yeah.
Physics. It's moments like this where I'm like, Marvel, I love you. I count down every release you have like a 6-year-old counting down to Christmas. But sometimes it's like, do you even science, bro? So I have to call you out, answer the tough yet essential questions here, and show you why Thanos' finishing move is a deafening dud. To the Theorist Mobile!
To the Theorist Mobile.
Wearing the Infinity Gauntlet, we should first clarify what's actually making the sound of a snap. Duh, Pat, a snap is just the sound that your finger makes when it hits your palm. You, the 22-year-old master of acoustics, might be saying, well, let's put that assertion to the test. First, snap your fingers. Now, do the same thing, but hold your index finger, ring finger, and pinky away from your hand. I'm completely serious. Try it now. Everyone all done? It sounds pretty different, right? Keep trying to snap with your fingers in different arrangements.
What? Oh yeah, it sounds a little bit different. Because if we snap like this, it sounds like an actual snap. But if we sound like this, it's it you like hear skin touching your skin, but if you do this like this, it's not the it yeah yeah it's pretty different, because if you do this, it's the skin is here like skin touching the skin, but if you do this, you actually hear a click. So yeah.
Arrangements. I mean,
It
sure,
sounds
it still makes
pretty
a sound
different.
when your middle finger hits your palm. It just doesn't make the same kind of snapping sound.
Yeah.
And that's because snapping is actually acoustically a lot more complicated than we imagine. It's this thing that most of us
Lot
learned to do
more
when we were 6 or 7
complicated.
specifically to use as social currency in first grade, and yet to this day it remains one of these universal mysteries that we don't really understand about our own bodies. So let's unravel that mystery right now. True, the
Universal
thud of your
clue.
finger hitting your palm makes a
Universal
sound, and so
mysteries.
does your finger as it moves down your thumb and pops off at the end.
Yeah.
But actually both of those sounds are quiet compared to the popping noise that's made by the air in your hand. Now that might sound weird, but when you snap,
Yeah.
the air that's trapped in your hand is what's making the big sound, or in our case, making half the universe disappear. Let me show you. Look at the shape of your hand when you're getting ready to snap. It should look roughly like this. You'll see that your ring
Yeah.
finger and pinky are pressed against your palm, roughly
Yeah.
creating a cone that's closed or nearly closed at the bottom. When your middle finger moves towards your palm, the cone changes shape really quickly, which actually forces air up and out of the cone towards your index finger. The reason why most people have a similar hand position when they're snapping is because this cone shape ends up being the best for amplifying sound. The movement out of your hand cone projects
Yeah.
sound and the air pressure in one concentrated direction. This is
Okay.
crucial for the snap, and it's actually the same way that the flared
Crucial.
end of a horn or a brass instrument works. The more you can compress the air in the cone with your fast middle finger movement, the faster the air will be to rush out of your hand cone and the louder the snap sounds. That's why when you move your middle finger faster, you get a louder snap than when you move your middle finger slower. If you want to snap,
Okay, let's hear. Yeah, if I do it like fast, it has a better sound, and if I do that slow, it doesn't have a good sound. So yeah, I learned something here about snapping. I learned something about snapping.
even louder, you can use
You're
two hands.
cool.
Seriously, it's called the Persian snap. And while the YouTube
Persian
tutorials
snap?
I found were hopeless in teaching me how to do it effectively, you can hear for yourself how loud it can be. So here's the rub.
That's
Thanos
loud!
is actually creating this shape with his hands. He's actually got pretty good form going into the snap, so shouldn't he be able to create a great sound at the climactic moment? Well, no, because if you
Yeah.
thought that physics has already ruined snapping for you ain't seen nothing yet. More sciencing! The second issue
More
is one that is
sciencing.
actually recognized in the movie, or at least in the movie filming. Josh Brolin, the actor who plays Thanos, reveals that when he was doing motion capture for the movie, the Infinity Gauntlet was represented by a hockey glove, and that posed some problems.
And to
But your
snap the
hockey
hockey
glove.
gloves on is just doesn't work.
So does that mean it would be impossible to snap while wearing any kind of glove on a hand, including one that's blinged out with magical rocks? Well, not necessarily. One of the issues with snapping while wearing gloves is that your fingers create less friction with the snapping motion. Basically, they're more slippery, which means that the air in the
Yeah.
cone never gets a good pop. Relative to gloves, human skin has a high coefficient of
Gets a
friction,
good-
meaning
good
that you actually need
pop.
a lot of force to get skin to move on other skin. But to give you a comparison, the coefficient of friction on the palm of your hand is about 0.62. The coefficient of friction on cotton is about 0.51, and the coefficient of metal, like aluminum, is 0.42. Since metal has a lower coefficient of friction than a lot of other materials, it'll naturally be worse at snapping than almost anything else you could wear. That being said, what you lose in friction, you can actually make up for with sheer force. You can try this at home just with your fingers. Hold your middle finger against your thumb loosely and snap. It's kind of dull and quiet, right?
Loosely. Yeah, it's kind of dull and quiet. I need my headphones. I need to fix my headphones real quick. Is it done? I don't know. I don't know if we can hear the microphone, but I think my headphones.
Now
are
press your
done.
middle
Yeah.
finger really hard against your thumb and snap. It's much louder. By
Yeah,
increasing
much
the
louder.
force required to overcome the friction, you speed up the moving finger, which in turn speeds up the air that's being compressed, which in turn makes the snap louder. Could you do the same
Yeah.
thing while wearing a magical metallic gauntlet? Theoretically,
probably.
Yeah, especially if you're as strong as a
What?
mad titan. The other thing that's actually sitting in Thanos' favor here is metal's ability to conduct sound. Going back to what I said a few minutes ago, that
Conduct
snapping moves
sound.
air a lot like a brass instrument or a horn. Have you ever stopped to wonder why horns are made of metal and brass? Well, it has a lot to do with the fact that metal is
Why?
actually a great sound conductor. This is because
great
at the
sound
molecular level,
conductor.
metal molecules are arranged in a lattice structure, which just means that the molecules repeat in the same patterns over and over and over again. When you have that
Over
kind of
and over
molecular
and over.
structure, it's able to carry sound waves through in a very uniform way, preserving the sound
Okay.
wave and either allowing it to bounce right off or projecting it outward. Fabrics like cotton or leather that you might use for other kinds of gloves have a totally different molecular structure because they're polymers. Instead of being able to preserve the sound, polymers, which are long and tangly, break up the sound waves and absorb them, making them really bad sound conductors. That's why fabrics are used to absorb sound. So it seems like everything should be aligning for the Infinity Gauntlet to make one tremendous and thunderous snap like you hear in the movie. Except there's one huge factor getting in the way.
What?
You know how we said that metals transfer the forces applied to them into the surrounding air? Well, that's assuming that air is the thing that's surrounding them. Again, think about a trumpet or a horn. There's air vibrating inside the horn caused by your mouth blowing all that nice air and spit, and it's transferred to the outside all along the horn and through the metal's ability to vibrate as the cone widens at the end. The Infinity Gauntlet, though, has a problem, which is that Thanos' hand is in it. If we were able to take his hand out, you'd actually get a lot of reverberation from a snapping sound because the metal would be free to vibrate with air on either side. But because this is the Infinity Gauntlet and was made specifically for Thanos by the Dwarf King, we know that this gauntlet genuinely fits like a glove. The glove do fit, you can't quit. That means that when Thanos snaps, his fingers inside the gauntlet will actually be deadening his own snap, with most of the sound energy simply being transferred into his own skin. This isn't to say that there won't be any sound when Thanos snaps, just that instead of an actual snap or even a kind of metallic clunk, we're just more likely to get a metal grinding sound from how hard he has to press to get the snap to work in the first place. It's not exactly impressive for the Master of the Universe. After researching all of this for the last couple weeks, I wanted to see if anyone had tested snapping in metal gloves. So as I was literally finishing the last couple sentences of this episode, I found out that my buddy Kyle Hill over on Because Science actually did an episode covering this topic a couple weeks ago. He takes a very different approach to this, where instead of diving into the acoustics, he goes for the practical physics and actually tries on a bunch of different gauntlet recreations from one of my other favorite creators on YouTube, Tony Swanton from Sword and the Stone, who makes all kinds of movie and video game weapons in real life. If you want to see some of the stuff that they put to the test because you just can't get enough of fictional gauntlet physics, well, definitely check that one out. And yes, before you run off to the comments and remind me that Thanos literally has the power of all the universes in his hand so he can make his snaps sound like anything he wants. And at the end of the day, remember, it's just a theory.
A film theory!
And now that you know Thanos' dirty little secret behind his lame finishing move, you can ruin Infinity War for all your friends and family. But it doesn't have to stop with Marvel movies. Oh no! There's a whole world of bizarre physics out there to make you and everyone you know
bizarre physics
or paranoid about pretty much anything you could ever want. Basically the thesis of Game Theory and Film Theory's channels. In all seriousness, taking the stuff we take for granted every day and learning about how it actually works, whether it's how we snap, why your toaster flips bread in the air, or even why you can see through glass, has always been mind-blowing to me. If you're into the same kinds of things as I am, well, you need to check out our sponsor for today's episode, which is Audible.com, where you can tap into an entire library of content on everyday physics. Learn about how hybrid cars actually work while on your commute by listening to the physics of everyday things, or understand how the touchscreen on your phone works while trolling through social media on your touchscreen phone while you listen to Stuff Matters. This is suddenly a really meta sponsorship, but seriously, this stuff is amazing, and because it's all
really
in
meta
form, it's just
sponsorship.
getting smarter through the process of osmosis. Just listen and let the knowledge pass into your brain. If you haven't tried Audible yet, now is the time to do it, because they have a whole bunch of new ways you can get the service and try out a big discount. All during July, if you're a member of Amazon Prime, which, let's face it, most of us are, you can get Audible for just $4.95 a month for the first 3 months, which is basically getting 3 months for the price of one regular month. Just that alone gets you all the way through the summer and the beach reading that you're going to be doing, except without the glare on your screen from where you actually have to read a book. When you're a member, you also get an audiobook credit every month, so you can try out new books as they roll out all year long and add them to your library. But if it turns out that you don't like the one that you picked up, you can just exchange it and get a different one, no problem. And one other nice thing is that as you build up an Audible library, you keep it forever. Something I hate about subscription services is...
Why is it loading? Why is it loading? Oh my people of the internet, it's loading, and this is my microphone without a pop filter.
Everything that's in my subscription library. But with Audible, you keep everything you own in your...
Without a pop filter, guys, is without a pop filter. Yeah, so it's loading like crazy, so... Yeah. Top of the morning to you laddies. My name is Jacksepticeye. Top of the morning to you laddies. My name is Jacksepticeye. And welcome back